Hey everyone, welcome to Be Our Guest, our weekly virtual happy hour with industry professionals. I'm Dev Janki, the artistic director of Live and in Color. We are a not-for-profit theater company based in New York and Connecticut, developing new plays and musicals that promote and celebrate diversity. For more information, check out our website at liveandincolor.org. I hope everyone is doing okay right now. I know we are anxiously awaiting answers, but in the meantime, I am so happy to talk with two wonderful artists who are creating positive change through their work. So please grab a drink and start leaving your questions for our amazing guests in the comments. Now, please welcome two founding members of the Black Theater United, actress and singer from Broadway shows such as Newsies, The Civil War, The Look of Love, and Caroline or Change, the amazing Capathia Jenkins. Hello, welcome. And production stage manager of over a dozen Broadway shows such as Fun Home, Shuffle Along, Julius Caesar, Caroline or Change, Into the Woods, Parade, and most recently, Frozen. It's the wonderful Lisa Dawn Cave. Hello, welcome the two of you. Thank you for joining me on this crazy Wednesday.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Where are you? First of all, how are you two holding up, and also where are you tuning in from?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm holding up. That's all I'm going to say. I'm holding up. I actually am in Sydney, Australia, tuning in to you guys right now, which means I am plus 16 hours ahead of you. So I wish I could know what the results were going to be being 16 hours ahead, but I don't. So it is currently 10:04 a.m. in the morning on Thursday.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm in Sydney, Australia is because I'm actually putting up theater again. I am putting up the Australian company of Frozen here as the production supervisor.
That's so wonderful. It's so hopeful that theater actually is going up still. So
exactly.
Yay.
Yes.
And Capathia?
I'm at home. I live in Georgia, Northwest Georgia, about an hour northwest of Atlanta. At home, my husband's home from work today, and we are hanging in there.
I love all of us with
on.
the big smiles, just trying to
Right. Yes.
Well, I really appreciate you being with me today, and hopefully this is a nice little bit of a distraction from the craziness of the world. But before we get into the amazing work you are doing with Black Theater United, I want our audiences to get to know you a bit better. Lisa, before you became a production stage manager, you were a dancer, having even performed in Cats on Broadway, which we never crossed paths in Cats. But what role did you play?
At first I started on the road. I was on the road for 2 years, and I was a swing.
Yes.
So on the road, I covered Cassandra, Victoria, Demeter, Bomb Ballerina, and Rumpelteazer.
Oh yeah, you were in that track, all of those.
Exactly. And then after I left the tour and came into New York, I did Broadway for a year and 9 months.
Yeah.
And I was Tantamile on Broadway, and I covered Demeter and Victoria.
Yeah, I'm so sad we never crossed paths because I started out as Coricopat on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
So see, we would have been paired up had we been.
Yes, we would have been. We would have been the twins.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, you had an amazing career as a performer. How has being on stage and being a performer influenced how you stage manage?
It's a big help. It really, really is. Because I know firsthand what it feels like to be on the stage.
Yeah.
I know firsthand what it feels like to be in the rehearsal, going through the dance moves, 7 hours, a day. I know what it is, to have to keep up my craft, vocalizing, so it's really good because I'm able to relate and know what the actors are going through. I also know what the actors are. Capathia and I actually have worked together, which was fantastic.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And was that when you were on Caroline or Change? Is that
Correct?
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. Yes.
Yes.
And I think, Capathia, you played the washing machine.
I sure did. I sure did. And it was so much fun. But I'll tell you what, Lisa Dawn can be a little bit modest. She is one of the best stage managers ever. All the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. I mean, she will bring clarity to a room like nobody else. You're not going to have any questions about what you have to do, what time you got to do it, or all of that. And she runs such a tight ship. I mean, it really is a joy to work with her. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely know that. Your reputation precedes you, and everyone adores Lisa Dawn Cave. So, speaking of Caroline Interchange, was that the first time you met?
Oh,
I think so.
I think so.
I think
it
so
was
because I was it was from those very first like workshops at the Public Theater.
Yep.
Is where we all kind of gathered, you know what I mean? And pretty much that same company went all the way to Broadway. So
Right.
yeah.
It's amazing those bonds you make through shows and how you go on to other careers and those people you stick with. Capathia, you had an extraordinary Broadway career, having been in so many shows such as The Civil War and Newsies. Oh, there you are in that fabulous outfit.
Yes.
However, you didn't initially pursue musical theater growing up. Can you talk about how your love for singing led to a career in musical theater?
I mean, I had been singing since before I could talk, really, and I was a little girl with a hairbrush in the mirror, singing, making up songs, and my mom going, "Shut up all that noise." So I always knew that I wanted to sing. And then I had a great music teachers. I started to study voice really early. I went to the High School of Music and Art. Studied singing classically, the Italian and German arias and all of that. Then I went to Temple University for a jazz program and, still singing. But then I auditioned for this show that was going to be in Bermuda, and I got to sing like Aretha Franklin music. And I was like, and I got it. And I was like, okay. So it wasn't until I had done shows like that, like reviews and things like that in different resorts, in Bermuda, in Lake Tahoe, in Miami, that I finally came back home to Brooklyn, New York, and auditioned for a bus and truck tour of Dreamgirls.
Remember those days, bus and trucks tours?
I know I'm dating myself, but that was, once I got that, I was like, I'm loving this whole theater thing. I'm loving being a character and all that. Yeah.
What a huge jump, though, to become Effie in your first musical theater production. That must have been incredible.
Yes. Scary and incredible. And, I learned a lot. And there's some lessons that I learned on that tour that I still use in my life today. So, yeah.
It's great. Lisa Dawn, you have stage managed close to 24 Broadway shows on Broadway, and most recently you were working on Frozen Frozen the musical on Broadway, which you are working on now in Australia, produced by Disney. How has working with Disney differed from working with independently run productions?
I would say it's a little different because you got to remember Disney is a corporation, so it is also a brand, right? So the way they run the business is a lot of things we have to do. We have to make sure it's in our rider that we have to maintain the integrity of the brand, right? Which is different from independent. Yes, you have to have integrity with all the shows you do, but it's a different, guideline that you have to follow. I have to say that, this is my first time ever working with Disney, and Disney Live, that what we're doing in theater, Disney Theatrical Group, is really amazing. I have to say that I'm so happy that I've joined the team here. And the responsibility that I've been given, they saw that I could do it. And they just said, hey, and it's great because, I know Thomas Schumacher said one time when I was in tech rehearsal, I think we were in Denver when we were trying it out. He was like, where have you been? how did we not know who you were? Which made me feel fantastic. And they give me a lot of responsibility. They trust me. They listen to me. When I speak, I do have a voice that they take into consideration. And same thing goes for the creative team. They really value what I know and what I bring to the table, which is pretty the way it should be for everyone, and the way it is here. And I have to say, I'm really having a great time with them and being very valued. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, they are very lucky to have you. Capathia, pre-pandemic, you had been traveling all over the country and I think the world to perform concerts in tribute to the great Aretha Franklin. There you are in concert. How did these concerts come about?
Back in 2000, I think it might have been 2007, I was finishing up Martin Short on Broadway, and I got a call from a manager who manages singers for symphonies, John Such. And he said, we're looking for a girl. We have this show called Broadway Rocks, and we're looking for a singer who can sing from like Hairspray and Dreamgirls and stuff like that. So that's how I got into the world of symphony pops shows. But once I got in, you start to work with conductors and meet them and network and all that. And multiple times conductors said to me, so we'd like to build a show around you. What do you like to sing? What do you want to do? And so it really kind of parlayed itself into its own career. And I love it so much, so much. So I have the Aretha Franklin program that I do, but also a Ella Fitzgerald. And a few years ago was her centennial. So I was all over the world. People love her all over the world, much like Aretha. And so I just get to travel and sing with these orchestras. And, in my heart, right, I'm this little girl from Brooklyn. So it's like the orchestra, sometimes it's 60 pieces or 80 pieces. They start my intro and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, it's for me, crazy. But I just love it. I love it so much. And it's going really well, pre-pandemic. And hopefully, they will reschedule and all that. We'll see what happens after this whole crazy time.
Absolutely. And
can I say really quick, you got two Brooklyn girls on here because I was born and raised in Brooklyn also. There you go.
And are you still in Brooklyn, Lisa Dawn, when you're in Europe?
No, actually, I'm in Long Island now.
Oh, okay. See. So I want to move on. In light of the Black Lives Matter movement and many other, you and many other members of the theater community formed a coalition to inspire reform and combat systematic racism in the industry called Black Theater United. Can you tell us about your mission's 4 pillars and the work you do?
You want to go, Lisa Dawn?
I'm gonna let you go, and I'll go into some of the programs that we're going to be doing. Yeah. You want to do?
Well, I'll tell you how we came about, right? So, I'm sure a lot of your viewers watch George Floyd be murdered, right, in broad daylight on camera. And so I got a text from Audra McDonald. I'm name dropping. And, she was just like, what can we do? The theater community just seemed so quiet at the time. And so, we all just got on a Zoom call and started to spitball about what we wanted, what we want to do. You know what I mean? And so we were talking about, microaggressions and things like that happen to Black people in the theater community, right? And on Broadway and the systemic racism and all of that. But we wanted to be a little bit broader than that, right? So we wanted to tackle some of this civic stuff and social unrest and all that. So we ended up partnering with people like Stacey Abrams and her sister, Dr. Janine Abrams McClain. We had a town hall with them all around the census. And we also had a town hall with Sherilyn Ifill from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, just talking about our civic duty. And we were actually being educated in the process of educating the people who showed up to the town halls, right? And I remember one of the things Sherilyn Ifill saying is that, back in the 60s, with all of everything that was going on, when we came out of that time, right? Because these times in our history bubble up, but inevitably the window closes to get something changed and done. So inevitably this window right now will close, right? And when it closes, you want to have things in place. So when the 60s windows closed, we had the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, right? So for Black Theater United, we are in the process of putting things in place, systemic things around the theater, how it's, how we throw the word diversity around. Diversity is a tricky word, right? But because what we're trying to work towards is equity. Mm-hmm. Right? What Lisa Dawn was just talking about. She has a voice as a stage manager. Right? You're not just ticking the Black girl box, right? And then she sits there like a mute. No, she has a voice. They listen to her. Those types of things is what we are aiming to do. And I'll let Lisa Dawn talk now.
Okay. So in addition, like Capathia said, the census that we were a part of and the voting, some of the things, I'm not going to name yet the organizations because we're still in development, but we have different committees, right? And I'm going to talk about the mentorship committee. We have about 4 partnerships that have reached out to us that we are in development of creating programs that will roll out in 2021, like summer and fall. And they range from mentorships of producing, company management, stage management, marketing, advertisement, set design, sound design, programming, sound technician, everything. What we're looking at is off stage, right? What happens behind the scenes, right? We see what happens on stage. Now, how does that work? How is that put together? And we find that a lot of our Black brothers and sisters don't know all these other areas that you can be a part of to put together the theater that makes the theater one unit. And without any of those other departments, you can't do it, right? So what we are now doing is we are developing programs where we can bring in, the next generation of pipelines to say, this is out there, this is the path, this is what you can do. Right. And we've been blessed, and people, our allies, have opened up their doors and said, we are going to partner. We are going to do this. So we are developing those programs, and it's very exciting to do this. And also in what we're doing is we also are, doing some artistic things and performance things that we are partnering with people that reach out to us. But we're also trying to stay focused. Right? We can't accept everyone's invitation, right? We can't. We would love to, but we can't because we are still a new organization, right? We're like 4 months old. So we still are getting our footing and our feet in the ground and getting a foundation, because we have to make sure that we're on steady ground in order for us to be able to do all the things we want and partner with all the people that are coming towards us.
Yeah, it's so great. The organization has been really active in encouraging people to vote and fill out the census recently. Why was this such an important part of your mission?
I think, I feel like with the census and with voting, those things are fundamentally necessary as a living, breathing citizen of this country, right? If you're not filling out a census, nobody knows you're there. So you maybe you could have a theater in your neighborhood if we knew you were there. You know what I mean? So that's just like a basic kind of thing, right? That it's about money coming to your neighborhood, to your county, for your children, for your schools. You know, it's all of that, right? And then voting. I mean, listen, we're having I'm having PTSD from last night, but you know, we're in one of the most historic elections of our lifetime, right? And so I feel like Black Theater United, we put ourselves out there and just went on this campaign telling people, get registered, get yourself out there. And I feel like we did some good. This is like historic numbers of people that came out, right? Because we were all kind of going to the polls. And I think that what's important about that is you get to shape your, not just the president, but down the ballot, right? In your county, in your city, in your neighborhood. Those kinds of things matter. And so it was important for Black Theater United to sort of, you know, we have a high profile group of people, right? And so we have these platforms. We want to say things that educate people, that uplift our people and help us.
Yeah. You started speaking about some of your programming that's coming up in 2021. Is there anything currently going on that is sort of in terms of projects you're working on that people can possibly get involved with right now?
Right now, I would have to say that, you know, with the Zoom, you know, we're having conversations, but the actual programs, we want to do it right.
Yeah.
So we want to take the time to do it right. We don't want to say, okay, let's do it next week because we have to get it out there and do it, and then it's not the way to go. So we want to make sure we're developing it correctly, where it actually will be sustainable, you know.
Or how can people get involved with the organization, like in terms of helping out, obviously donating at your website, but in terms of volunteering or providing services?
I think, you know, right now, as Lisa Dawn was saying, we're such a baby of a company, right? So an organization. I think going to the website, blacktheaterunited.com, signing up to, you know, sort of be there. So when we send out newsletters and things like that about things that we're doing and things that you can take action on, I think that you can donate. We always like a donation, but you can stay plugged into us and grow with us, right? Because there will come a time when we will reach out to you and ask for volunteers and all of that stuff. We're still building. So I think go to our website and sign up.
Fabulous.
Right. Because we will send out newsletters, you know, and let you know what we're doing. Because even around the census and the voting, we did send out to our membership some phone banking that we were doing, some texting banking, all of that stuff. So being a member, you will constantly get information about what we are doing. So you can stay plugged in, and we will also announce when we need you to come and help us out with stuff.
Fantastic. I think we have a few questions from our viewers. Let's see Robert says, what is the craziest backstage mishap you experienced during a show? I'm sure you have a ton of them. Jump on in.
Tell us a good one, Lisa Dawn.
Oh, my Lord. It's because I'm the backstage person. Oh, my goodness. Well, I won't say what show it was. But actually, I would have to say it was an on-stage mishap. But the reason I'm answering it as a backstage is because the stage managers had to figure out how to deal with it. Okay. But I mean, as we all know, live theater, which I love, I will never go anywhere else but live theater. Things can happen. Things can happen technically. You know, you're working on a computer. Just like right now, one of us could still all of a sudden freeze, right, with this internet. We don't know. Sometimes that happens in a show. And I've had that occur on more than one occasion. And you have to think on your feet. But the one thing that I know that I make sure of before I go into tech is that the company, the cast, the crew, everyone that I work with, trust that I have their back on that stage. And I will not put them in harm's way. You know, and so when something does happen, they can count on me to let them know whether or not they should go on. And if I'm saying you should go on, that means it's safe to go on. If it's not, I will stop the show and fix it and then come back. So there are things that, you know, happen with our electronics and our technical stuff that I've been a part of, but we've all worked it out.
Capathia, what about you? Has anything crazy happened to you on stage or backstage?
Oh my God, there's so many stories. I'll tell you a quick one from early on in my career, right? I'm doing Dream Girls. I'm Effie. I'm singing, and I'm telling you I'm not going. And this is one of those things where we were on a bus and truck. So every day when we would pull up to the theater, they would say, ladies and gentlemen, go walk the stage, just to see where you are. So of course, me, I ain't doing that. I'm fine. I didn't do it. And the set,
I was not her stage manager.
No, this is way before I was a baby. I was before I met Lisa Dawn. But the stage at the way upstage, there was a couple of steps that led down into the dressing room, right, for the dreams. And as I'm singing, no way, and I'm backing up,
no.
and my foot caught that step. And when I tell you I went down and my butt hit like the second step hard, you know what I mean? And the whole audience was like, and I'm trying to stay in character, no. And I like happened to look over in the wings, and Curtis and Dina and Laurel, they are falling out laughing and can't get themselves together. And I kept it together. I was professional, but I tell you what, every day after that, I walked that stage.
Oh, it's so great. It's so great. Let's take another question. What gives you hope from your work with BTU?
Oh man, the future is bright. The future is bright. I think what gives us hope with Black Theater United is we were born out of such a horrific event of seeing George Floyd, but also the pandemic, like everything that we're in right now, right? But we know that it may not be for us what we put into place in terms of these systems. So even if it's our children's children or whatever, we have hope for that. We have hope for, a Broadway or a theater community that is equitable, that is run by people that look like all of us, people that look like this country. You know what I mean? We have hope. I think the thing that gives us hope is that, the opposite of hope is like despair and hopeless, right? And then what would be the point? So, some days you are more hopeful than others, right? And we know as Black Theater United, we're a young organization. We will make mistakes. We will have missteps, but we are dedicated and committed to getting the work done. So, and some days if I'm feeling not hopeful, Lisa Dawn is feeling more hopeful and so on and so forth. And we hold each other up and we push each other forward. So yeah, nothing but hope.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so beautiful. Let's take one more question. Alyssa says, what are you most excited for when Broadway returns? Thank you so much.
I would have to say that it's going to be anew. It's not going to be back to what we did. And we have to remember, because some people say, I want to go back to, what we did. We got to get back to Broadway. We don't need to go back to Broadway. We need to go forward to not just Broadway. We need to go forward regional theater. We need to go forward with touring, So what my hopes are is that we're going to move forward. And when we return to those wonderful live stages, it's going to be new. It's going to be new. It's going to be refreshing. And it's going to look like everybody, backstage and on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
yeah, I think that there's such a hunger too, right? And so when it comes back, I'm just so excited about the audience, the sound of the audience, right? Getting ready, the orchestra, the whole thing, like all of those butterfly feelings, like all of it,
Yeah.
It's such a it's just a dark time in our country right now, and Broadway is such a big part of what lights us up as a country, and so I'm looking forward to that light coming back on, the ghost light.
Yes.
It's still on, but I'm looking for all the lights.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's me too, is all I have to say. And hopefully it happens sooner than later. We are out of time. It goes by so fast. This was such a powerful episode for me. I'm so excited by the work that Black Theater United is doing. You can find them at blacktheaterunited.com. There are so many wonderful organizations like yours and like ours, Live and in Color, right now that are creating more space to showcase BIPOC artists. It is more important than ever to promote this kind of industry-changing work. Please consider donating to support our artists. The stories we tell have the power to change hearts and minds. Also, be sure to tune into Be Our Guest next week when I talk to Adam Hindman, founder of the multimedia commercial investment and producing organization, the Industry Standard Group, along with his impressive colleagues, Rob Lakey, Sammy Lopez, Cynthia J. Tong, and Marie Bishara. It promises to be another wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you both. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and thank you, Capathia and Lisa, for joining me. Will one of you lead us in a little toast before we go?
I'm gonna let Capathia do it since it's still 10:30 in the morning where I am.
Why don't we toast to, we were just talking about it, a bright future. A bright future where we have love and light in the world.
Yes.
Hear, hear.
Bright future. Hear, hear. Thank you.
Hear.
Thank you, everyone who tuned in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Change the story. Come on and change the scene. Change the beginning. The ending in between. It's time to change the story. Come on and change this tune. See how the future looks bright.